going on, Kinfolk? Yes, sir. Welcome back to the Key to the City podcast. This is season 2, baby. It's your Kinfolk. You cut your cousin Yoni. I appreciate y'all joining me once again. First season was a blast, man. I learned a lot through trial and error, believe it or not. So I appreciate everybody that was patient with me. Everybody that's patient with me now, because we're supposed to be live streaming, but you know your boy can't keep his mouth shut. And Facebook done put me in jail again for 30 days, old bastards. But that's neither here nor there. We're going to keep it pushing. And thank you for everybody that's been supporting, liking, commenting, sharing, whatever you've been doing to show your support for the podcast, man. I sure enough appreciate it. I'm going to try to step my game up this second time around and just get better with each and every episode. And today is no different. I have a wonderful, beautiful black queen in the building with me today. Y'all know this COVID-19 is popping and going on, so some of these interviews we're going to do virtually. But this queen is an award-winning CEO, master educator, and published author. That's right. She's also the founder of Jackson Education Support, which we're going to find out more about today, find out a little bit about her background, how long she's been doing this, what inspired her to do it. And she probably can offer you some advice if you're looking to follow in her footsteps. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I want to welcome you, Miss Jillian Smart. What's going on, Queen?
Hey, how you doing, Keone?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me, love.
No problem. I appreciate you being patient with me, and I want to apologize for not being able to go live. I know that's so unprofessional of me to be in Facebook jail while I'm trying to call myself conducting an interview, but hey, I have my First Amendment rights. Yeah, it do. It's a damn shame you can't have a platform and speak your mind, but whatever. That's neither here or there. I'm glad you joined me, though. How you feeling today?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. It's been a long, interesting day for me in the best way. You know, gotta work through those obstacles to get stuff done.
Yeah, you staying corona free?
Absolutely, absolutely. Thankfully.
Right.
During the like when everything kind of started, naturally there was like a big concern because like I'm working with kids, you know what I'm saying? I'm working with not just kids, but I'm working with people in person for the most part. That's why they come to me, is because like they need extra help. And so being just on the computer, the strict, like e-learning approach, it simply doesn't work for students who may have like mild learning disabilities or, just struggle with basic reading comprehension skills. And so to put them in that online learning environment is difficult. And staying COVID free is naturally, more important than academics even. So it's been a blessing. My clients have remained healthy. I've been healthy. What about you?
Oh yeah, man. You see, I cut my beard down a little bit. They said that COVID can get in your beard. So
the particles are supposed to be able to attach to hair.
Yeah. So I had to cut that thing down, but so far so good. I kind of think I already had it though. I hate to sound like one of them people, but
yeah.
Back in November of 19, I had flu-like symptoms. I was down for about a week. Went to the doctor. It was no flu. He just diagnosed me with an upper respiratory infection. They couldn't figure out what it was, so I don't know.
Right.
I'm gonna knock on wood though.
Right. Right. Allegedly, like once you get it, when you're infected, it's supposed to be unlikely, for you to get it again. And if you do get it again, then at minimum, your immune system is supposed to be better equipped, like to fight it out. So you don't have like the extreme symptoms. So we'll see if that proves to be true.
Oh, so you saying if I drop, then it probably ain't true then?
Let's not. We're not gonna claim that.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about you. Now, you originally from Jackson, born and raised?
Absolutely, born and raised in Jackson, Mississippi.
She's an original Jew. Tell us a little bit about your educational background, where you went to school at, your degrees, things like that.
Okay. So like I said, born and raised in Jackson. I grew up like off of Capitol Street,
Mm-hmm.
Clem Boulevard,
Okay.
that area. And so like elementary school early on, that's kind of the area where I went to school, area where I grew up. And then we ended up like moving further north, still in
Mm-hmm.
Jackson though. And so I attended different middle schools. I have a lot of, I'm not going to go through that list,
Yeah.
but I graduated high school. I actually attended Terry. I think I was at Terry before you
What?
were at Terry. I was at
Okay.
Terry my ninth grade year, and I think you may have come to Terry our 10th grade year,
Mm-hmm.
if I remember correctly. And
Correct.
so, yeah, so I graduated from Murrah, and then everybody knew to go to Ole Miss. Definite shade on everybody that didn't go to Ole Miss.
Yeah.
But so I graduated from Ole Miss, and I took a whole lot of classes at Ole Miss, like a lot of people, probably can attest to. But I ended up leaving with a business minor and a major in chemistry. So I
Mm.
worked in pharmaceutical research briefly, and I worked as an analytical chemist briefly, and it became really clear that I needed to pursue graduate education, right, in order
Mm.
to succeed in the field. And I wanted to get my doctorate anyway. And so it didn't take a lot of pushing, from
Mm-hmm.
my supervisors. Once I entered research, I wanted to be like them, like I wanted my name to be on the research papers, and I wanted
Right.
to learn also the skill sets necessary to, like show up and show out when it comes to improving the health
Mm-hmm.
of people by developing drugs that are effective without the, complicated side effects. That was really like, that's what I saw myself doing at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to grad school and I majored in chemistry. I was working on my master's in chemistry. And so at the end of my master's degree program, we had to do like the teaching assistantship, right? And this
Mm-hmm.
whole time I'm knowing I want to own a business, but I'm looking at the financial barrier to entry when you're talking about analytical chemistry. Like one piece of equipment is, like out of this world.
Mm-hmm.
As an individual that's wanting to start a business. And so I just like the wheel started spinning when I got into the chemistry lab as an instructor, a graduate student, but as a graduate teaching assistant is the best way to
Mm-hmm.
say that, because I don't want to be misleading at all.
Right.
I'm studying to finish up my degree as I'm helping like the freshman chem or like the transfer chem students.
Mm-hmm.
And in that role, I just can't really describe what, woke up inside of me when it came
Mm-hmm.
time to work with my clients, because I was in a really transitional phase, um,
Mm-hmm.
where I knew what my vision for myself was before I got to grad school. And once I got to grad school, things began to change. It started to get really like cloudy. I wasn't as clear in the vision that I had for myself, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so as I'm kind of rebuilding and trying to make sense of it, this, opportunity comes along and I'm starting to have fun again. I'm not
Mm.
thinking so critically about everything. It's just fun. I
Right.
know enough about the content to go and find out the information that I don't know, because I've taken countless chemistry classes, obviously. And I'm also building like relationships with people, and we're laughing and having a good time. People come in hating to be in the lab, but still wanting to hang out and talk to me after lab. You know
Right.
what I
Right. Right.
mean? And
Yeah.
so, anyway, I really really enjoyed that. And so I decided I wasn't really getting anywhere, to be honest with you, when it came to, like making that vision come true,
Mm-hmm.
to bringing it to fruition. I wasn't getting where I wanted to be as fast as I wanted to get there. And I
Mm-hmm.
also wasn't willing to wait anymore. I wanted something to happen now. And I was having fun, doing the teaching part. So I decided to go ahead and pursue the alternate route. to get my license, right? And so I pursued the alternate route. And I say that the alternate route program is the opportunity for people to get in the classroom who should have majored in education in the first place.
Right.
Like
Okay.
you didn't know that you should have majored in education.
Mm-hmm.
And you discovered that along your path. And the alternate route is really like a super quick, painless way to get in the classroom. Even if you think that you want to be an educator, even if you think that you want to work with young people or high schoolers or whatever, the alternate route programs are a good way, to kind of, test the waters. But I knew that was what I wanted to do. I ended up getting my license and getting in the classroom. I was in the classroom briefly. I taught naturally chemistry and physical science.
Mm-hmm.
And so after that, I decided that I went through some health issues, and as I was recovering and coming back to myself, I decided that the best thing for me to do would be to be in control of my time, right?
Mm-hmm.
To be in control of my schedule and my energy output. And so starting your business is, starting a business is it's not an easy way to do it, because I don't want to mislead people. Being a business owner and everything falling on you is
Right.
definitely not, it's not a no-brainer. And it's not, the no-brainer part is knowing what your passion is. Like once you figure that out, then, the how, as far as how to bring it to fruition, that requires a tremendous amount of effort. And I was willing to go into that direction because, again, spending time with my clients, before they were my clients, spending time with students, tutoring, I had a history of tutoring,
Mm-hmm.
but I wasn't even realizing that I was building a foundation.
Right.
For what I'm doing now. So anyway, I have my master's in education. I'm nationally certified tutor. I continue, like professional development work. One of my favorite areas to study is like social emotional learning, because I believe that it's not just about cognition. It's not just about thinking. A lot of times you see people not performing or not showing up as their best selves because they lack motivation or they lack confidence. And the social emotional learning piece kind of speaks to that and equips educators to equip learners to rise to the occasion,
Right. So what made you decide to take that leap of faith and start Jackson Education Support? Or when did you decide to do that?
Yep. So it was 2012. That's when I launched Jackson Education Support.
Mm-hmm.
I was working on my first book, and the title of my first book is Parent Support: 30 Ways to Support Your Child's Education. And the purpose for me, like starting on that book, is, of course, like I said, I mentioned, I was, dealing with some health stuff. And so there was a lot of idle time. You're sitting, waiting for your body to heal and improve. And so my mind is still going like 90 to nothing, though, even though I need to be still, right? And so that's kind of where the book came in, is I was getting out all of these things that I wanted to say to my parents before I left the classroom. All of the advice that I wanted to share with my parents, and the resources as well, that I felt like if parents had these tools, then they would be better equipped to support their kids. So as I was working on that, it just seemed like natural. My master's program was coming to close. I was wrapping that up. And, like while I was wrapping up the master's degree program and while I was wrapping up that first book, I was also working on a business plan. So when it came, when go time, I knew it was coming. I didn't know when, but I knew I was not going to be, like in that space forever. So you kind of hear people talk about, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready type of thing.
Facts.
And there are other quotes that probably better demonstrate my point. But what I'm trying to say is I use that downtime to make sure that when the opportunity presented itself, that I was ready. So I was playing around with like branding. I was studying like
Mm-hmm.
marketing, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
all of those good things. So as the clients came, I was ready to meet the need.
What does a prospective client look like for Jackson Education Support?
When I think about that question, it's very difficult for me to answer
Mm-hmm.
like in a like succinct way, because I work with so many different types of people. That's
Mm-hmm.
like the best part of what I do, in my opinion. So from preschool to professionals, I get to work with a lot of different types of people. My specialty subject areas are literacy, math, and science, right? Naturally, the science piece makes sense because of my science background. And
Mm-hmm.
you don't get to a point like where you're studying chemistry and you don't have a strong math background. Like,
Mm-hmm.
the concepts and the math kind of go hand in hand,
Right.
right? And then the writing piece is just something like I wrote poetry in middle school. I probably started writing poetry, and I always like journaled or
Mm-hmm.
wrote for self-expression. And so when you do something that you're interested in and you're passionate about, and it's not necessarily for a grade, then you get better at it, right? Over
Right.
time. When you go to English class, you're picking up on different things because you're trying to make your own, material better, whatever you're working on in private. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's kind of how that worked. But in addition to that, naturally, like I said, I pursue professional development so I can help students with dyslexia. So I can help students who, like when you're in like preschool, when you're like the younger age children, they're deemed too early, right, to
Mm-hmm.
sit for a dyslexia screening. But there are certain red flags that are apparent to a trained eye, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And so I've learned that phonetic instruction is something that's very important when it comes to really teaching all learners, but specifically dyslexia learners benefit from that. So that's one type of client that I work with. I've worked with students on the autism spectrum, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've worked with students with ADHD, ADD, attention deficit challenges. And
Mm-hmm.
so learning how to self-regulate. Then again, you're dealing with a situation where it's not just about academics. We're talking about some of those soft skills, the social emotional learning piece,
Mm-hmm.
self-regulation, helping them figure out, time management, those types of things. And so go ahead.
I'm trying to get a visual of what it looks like. Are you uh working directly with the kids, or do you have a staff of teachers or tutors that go out and work with them, where you just pretty much establishing a relationship with them, and then you have other tutors that carry out your program with the students, or you're directly working?
So yeah, I work directly with students. The
Mm-hmm.
bread and butter of the business is private tutoring and exam preparation. So most of my time is spent one on one with students. But I
Okay.
also work with educators as well. So like you have educators that talk about getting highly qualified educators into the classroom, or helping educators who are already in the classroom earn the certification. So they have to pass the teacher test, the praxis, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
get help teachers pass the praxis. Maybe I'll work with them one-on-one. Sometimes I've been invited out to the school to work with a group of teachers to study for the test, to pass the test. But when you ask me about me having a staff, that's not how my business model is set up.
Okay.
I I help people become like stronger in their weak areas, and I also connect students with people who are experts in areas that I'm not an expert in, right?
Makes
And so
sense.
it's like twofold. One, I build a network with like-minded people who want to help students, and so once my calendar is full, then I do refer out to other people. So I encourage people, like to reach out and connect with me.
Mm-hmm.
Because if educators like network and like work together, then we can better support students. Because I'm not strong in every area, and I'm not trying to be strong in every area.
Right.
I want to do what I love. That's why I'm doing it. But it may be somebody else who like loves French, for example. It's not very, like, I'm not into helping people with foreign languages. Spanish is it, and it's just because I had to take it at Ole Miss.
Right.
But also, partnering with organizations is another way that I get to like expand my reach, providing, like the larger workshops for conferences. So I may be called in or submit a proposal, and I get to go in and train a group of educators, or I get to go and train a group of parents even on, like whatever the theme for that conference is. I would submit a proposal that's appropriate for that thing. So with the character piece, again, my sophomore project, Cultivating Grit, I have 2 different trainings for that. And one is Kids with Grit. That's a training specifically for parents. But I've done it with educators too, because it's like the funner, lighter, not so not so terminology heavy training. And then I go deeper with a training that's character and content, right?
Okay.
And so I talk about some of the theory behind it for people who are interested in like the pedagogy or the instructional best practices, and like all of the, I don't know what else to say besides terminology. Nothing else is coming to me, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I did. Did you face any obstacles trying to get JES off the ground?
Oh, absolutely. I still do. I still do.
Share some of those with us.
Um, So I think that question that you asked me about, as far as who my ideal client, like what my ideal client looks like, my desire to have variety in my life, and my desire to like tackle challenges makes it difficult for me to be like, if there's some people, like you may hear about a tutor, and that tutor only does ACT math, right? Or you may know educators, right? And they've taught English for 30 something years, or I'm sure I could come up with a lot of other examples, but my point is, I could not see myself, like my life couldn't look like that, because it doesn't work for my personality. It's wonderful for people that it works for, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because it's definitely a lot of benefits, but for me, I need that variety. And so with that need for variety comes a lot of different challenges, for sure.
Makes sense. So I know you're a major advocate for education. You still believe that that's still key to a prosperous and productive life?
Oh, absolutely. Since when I was a child, that was just the conversation at home, go to school, be quiet, and make sure your grades are good when the report cards come out. Like that was the conversation. So early on, I bought into that idea that academics are really important, and that's something that I need to get, and early, on, of course, I'm getting it for my parents, but over time, and my parents like exposing me to different opportunities where you see people who've, taken advantage of the academic opportunities that they've been like able to take advantage of, and you see that kind of manifest in their lives,
Right.
And so I wanted that. I wanted to be really good at school. And I wanted to help other people, like live their best lives when it came to getting, what they needed to get out of school, for sure. Yeah.
That's what's up. Now, dealing with young people, I'm sure you've been keeping up with uh, everything that's been going on currently in America with the police murders and brutality and protests and the rioting and everything that's going on. And we all know that interaction with police, and uh, those negative interactions kind of affect the Black community disproportionately. Um, if you had to have a conversation with those young students, those young minds, and I know you're not a law enforcement officer, but just somebody who knows that children are impressionable, and um, when they're introduced to certain situations, it can really harm them from life mentally, based on how they view things, which could have a negative impact on them as adults. What do you think would be the best advice for children, especially young Black children, when it comes to interacting with the police? Because we've seen situations where the victim has been kind of defiant and trying to tussle with the police, and it ends badly. Then we see situations where the victim is fully cooperative and they still end up dead. So, like, what type of conversation would you have with a young Black student in regards to that?
Yeah. So the first thing that I would like to say, if you'll allow me, is like all of that turns my stomach and it completely disgusts me,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it stirs up like something inside of me that I really don't have the words for. And the best way that I could express that was at one point on Facebook, my banner image was like the police station on fire, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Some people may have seen that and felt like she supports this type of violence, or she supports this type of vandalism or arson. This is the type of response that Jillian supports, right? And it couldn't be further from the truth, right? That's how I felt on the inside.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I'm a very sensitive person. And so those types of things affect me in a way where I can't even sit and watch. Like the video recently.
George Floyd.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I still haven't watched the whole thing. Like that type of stuff is not for me. So I'm not gonna talk on that real long. That's what I got to say about that piece. But when it comes to my students, like that's when the game face come on. Like we get out of our feelings.
Yeah.
Because my students came to me, and I work with white students, Black students, white educators, Black educators, but some of my students came to me, like during the pandemic, naturally clientele dropped significantly. But for those who continue to come, all of this protest / rioting / looting is all over the news, and kids are paying attention. I mean, as young as elementary school, like they're really paying attention. And so my response, and they really want to know what we think,
Right.
So my response is, what's more important than what I think is what you think. Like, what do you think about it? Okay, you're not out in that environment, but what I like to encourage students to do is to figure out, how do you feel about what you're observing, and what kind of decisions would you make, right? And my message to them is to make sure that you act with purpose, because what you just said was, it doesn't matter if you're doing the right thing, if you're not doing the right thing, they're still gonna, pop up. Even if the general public clearly sees that this is murder, right? We're going to see some, PC statement about investigation.
Right.
We're going to see some PC statement about, and it's definitely not PC. It's politically incorrect, in my opinion.
Right.
But we're going to see something foolish about an autopsy, when everybody saw what happened. And so that's just my mission that's my message to my clients, no matter their age, is what would you do and why would you do it? And you get some silly answers when you're talking to young people. You get silly answers that don't make sense, or that make sense, but that aren't rooted in something that they genuinely feel. And so that's what my goal is when I'm talking to them, is to help them get at the root of what they're feeling, as opposed to having this mob mentality. Because I think people, even when you talk about racism, when you talk about all of these different things, like the negative parts of society, right? A lot of it is rooted in this mob mentality. You have individuals who aren't thinking for themselves, you know. And so that's just my personal opinion, and
Right.
I'll get off my little soapbox about that. But that's the take home point. I mean, that's the take home message when I have conversations with my clients. That's not a hypothetical question that you ask me. You know, that's been my real deal. Even today, earlier today, I dealt with 3 Black men, young men, you know, who came in, you know, like earlier today, and it affects them, you know, and people are tempted to get out and behave in ways that they don't even understand. And that's just my warning, is make sure whatever you do, you know, you think about it. Just take your time.
Right. Absolutely. I dig that. Shoot, I could use that myself. Maybe if I would have thought about what I was saying, I'd be able to live stream on Facebook right now. But F y'all, man. Key to the City podcast, Jillian Smart, founder of Jackson Education Support, in the building with us. Queen, before we let you go, what's some advice that you can give to maybe young men and women that want to follow in your footsteps, establish their own organization to help the community, but they don't know where to start, or they might be hesitant, or, you know, fear may be a major obstacle for them? What's some advice you have for them?
Yeah. So when it comes to fear, like the only way to get over it is by doing it, right?
Amen.
If you like pay attention to my brand, I've been active on social media for years, you know, practically since 2012, probably. And definitely since 2013. But you won't see very many videos, right? And so even, you know, like I'm opening myself up constantly to new things that are not as comfortable, you know, like
Right.
for me. And video is a great way to like get your brand out there. And so my advice would be to, you know, pinpoint the fear, name the fear, and, you know, like move through it. You know what I mean? Because if you keep moving around it, then it just doesn't serve you. You don't get
Right.
to see how strong you are. You don't get to make mistakes, you know, because that's something I talk to my clients about all the time. In academics, you know, like we encourage students to be open to that process of failure and recovery and growth. You know what I mean? And so I would say the same thing to anybody who's thinking about starting a business, or who's in business and wants to grow the business. I have a ton, you know, more to learn. I have a call tomorrow, you know, like with a mentor. I keep mentors. I keep people close to me. I hunt people down so that I can ask them questions and bounce ideas off
Right.
of. And they, you know, like you can learn from people who are in business that are not in your niche, that are not in your industry even, you know, and I think that that's important. And then probably the next thing that I see so often is like people looking at business and thinking that you have to have so much money. People looking at business and thinking that, you know, like not being able to see themselves just starting somewhere. You
Right.
know,
Right.
when I first started, I had one client that I saw, I think it was like 2 times a week, like every week. And that it was just like that. You know, I'm spending up my little savings, you know,
Right.
I'm spending up all, you know, all, you know, my little pocket money, because I believe in what I want. I believed in what I was creating, you
Right.
know, and you
Right.
just got to feel it in your gut. And if you do feel it in your gut and you're not stepping out on it, then you're doing yourself a disservice, you know.
Ooh, you preaching up here. And I'll probably add patience too, because
Oh,
that's one thing I struggle with. I want shit to happen overnight, boy.
oh,
And I'm glad you said that you had been building your brand since 2012. And I just started with the podcast last year. So it's like, regardless of me giving 100% effort for it, it's still going to take time to build it to where I want to build it to and gain an audience, a faithful audience. So I'm glad you said that, man. That's motivation for me to just, you know, really conquer each day, as opposed to looking way down the line and getting discouraged. So
yeah, it doesn't. What they say, I've heard this quote. Um, People who spend too much time in the past, are usually have to like grapple with depression, and people who spend too much time in
Thanks.
the future have to grapple with anxiety.
Anxiety. Yes, Lord. I,
And
I was
so like
I was diagnosed with both.
and so
Mm,
figuring out how to like be centered, your girl goes to yoga. Do you hear me? But not
okay.
like extra. I'm working on getting to the next level. I do like the meditative restorative yoga is the type of yoga class that I attend. And meditation, it's not like I drive around, I don't listen to anything in my car.
Mm,
I do it's certain things, certain behaviors that I've developed over time from listening to other people and watching people who are more successful or older, wiser,
mm,
as well. There's certain, behaviors that I've been intentional about that help me stay away from the past and stay away from the future, not spend too much time there because you got to
mm.
plan and you want to learn from your mistakes,
Right.
but you want to spend, you got to spend most of your time now here,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Ooh, you just gave a word. Thank you, Jada. I so appreciate that. But I need to engrave that into my heart and remember it. Those times I'm always, yeah, anxiety, depression is about to take me out of here, man.
Yeah, and you can't let it though. Like you got
Mm.
so
You froze up. Don't do this. We almost done.
like, like when you get into whatever it is that you there you go.
Okay.
Can
Yeah.
you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
You did.
So when I see you like working on different projects, eventually it comes to me. Like it pops up, it's so popular online that
Mm.
I end up finding out about it, even if you and I haven't spoken. And
Right.
seeing you in your element is just it's like the best. You gotta keep doing it.
I appreciate that. Miss Smart, that makes me feel good. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
I will. I won't stop. I damn near quit tonight, but I like nah, I can't. I can't go out like that. But
absolutely not.
hmm well, we appreciate you stopping through the city today. Tell my kin folks how they can find out more about Jackson Education Support, how they can contact you.
Yeah,
Hours of operation.
yeah. So I only work with clients by appointment.
Okay.
And so I've had people like call or stop by the office and, text me or call me, like irate because I'm not here.
Mm.
And the best way for us to connect is to either call, the number is 601-724-2152.
Mm.
And the website is the best place to schedule like any service that you need. There's a list of services and trainings that are provided. The URL is je411.com. Super simple and short. That's je411.com. And I have a blog there. I create products. We didn't even get on that. I
Speak
guess,
on it.
popped up my time. Say it again.
Speak on it.
Yeah, so I create products. So once I get to work with clients and I figure out, like the best way to serve a client, be it, like I said, a younger client, a college student, whatever age, even with working with educators, I've developed, quick, easy resources that you can download from the website. I've even gathered like free resources. So you just visit je411.com. You can kind of see what I'm about and read the blog and check out some of the tools that I've created for parents and educators.
Okay. Um, social media handles.
Yeah, so at JE_services. That's
Mm-hmm.
at JE_services. That's the handle for Twitter and Instagram. And then on Facebook, it's just at Jackson Education Support, all one word.
Word. Y'all check it out. I'm so proud of you, Queen. As always, it's good to speak with you. I'm glad to see you doing your thing. I'm glad to see you keep your head on straight. Didn't let everyone knock you off your path during this time, man. And I'm just happy for you, man, and proud of everything that you're doing and the impact that you're making in the community. And I see you continue to do great things. So keep it up.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Key to the City podcast. We had it out. This was episode 1 of season 2. We had the Queen Jillian Smart in the building with us, the founder of Jackson Education Support. Y'all continue to support her, continue to support the podcast, and pray for your boy, man. I can keep my mouth shut on these social media platforms. You dig that? We out this thing, man. Peace and blessings. Love y'all. Peace.